Wow, and I'm not asking him to come in. So Matthew is late. So you guys are doing the benefit, give him a benefit of telling him when he take the AP Human Geography class, what the rest of the class should take care. Okay, so Matt, now give
I
us
would
a
say
report on your recent, very recent AP test. Go ahead.
I'd say the hardest part was definitely the FRQ. Although for me, the first two was relatively easy, and the third one was the most difficult.
What's the
Third
first one?
one,
What's the second one? Give us the question and tell me how you answer that. Why it's hard, why it's easy. Go ahead.
I don't exactly remember the first prompt, but I believe there was no diagram, and then it was just, I think it was explaining like I think it was women empowerment in less developed countries. So it would like be like asking for explanation of how empowering women in less developed countries could be like a economic benefit to the country. So you would probably just write like uh there would be more workers in the workforce, or like, you know, that kind of thing. And then the second one was it was it had a diagram, but I don't remember what it was.
So let me rephrase it. Hannah, that's basically for your benefit too, right? Women's empowerment, the first world country, the second world country, the third world country, how to empower women and which kind of country is still give women a very hard time. We talk about that in the class about subcontinental Asia, like in India, they're burning the widows and in all the time. Are they still doing it? In some countryside, they are still doing it. So if you give them a very good example about different countries, women's education, right? How they were represented in the government, whether they were Supreme Court judges or they have no public office at all, right? How about they have a choice or no choice in terms of having the next generation? So these kind of issues, and they gave you the diagram because they gave you the statistics, right? They gave you the statistic. You use the statistics to justify your argument. Okay. I remember last time I gave you guys some very good presentation on the internet. You can do research. So that is related with what the Justice Harvard class. So therefore, the Harvard class is very important for you to
Oh,
do
I found
what?
it. I found the
Yeah, go
I
ahead.
found the FRQ prompt online. They released it after the test.
Wow, congratulations. Now
So
you can share screen with us. Go.
yeah, so apparently it was I got there's two sets and I got the second one.
Wonderful, wonderful. You are doing everybody in this class a very big benefit, especially Matthew. And you are late for 3 minutes, and then you have to buy lunch for everybody in the class, especially Matt. Okay, because you have to do this AP class. Wow.
Okay, so
Thank you, Matthew. Everybody own your debt. Okay, everybody own your debt.
so the first one's easy. Like you just define is just giving the definition. So there's the keywords in FRQ. So this one's like define, this one's describe, this one's explain. So the easiest one is define, which you just have to give the definition. So total fertility rate is
Fertility rate. We talk about that. How
yeah.
2.1. 2.1 is a big number. You need to remember to keep the balance. The birth
Yep.
rate and death rate should be balanced. And right now, a lot of country, last time before the test, I prepare you guys with especially number one, Japan, Europe, Germany are not having enough babies, right? Right? They're not having enough babies, and why? And China, in China, the birth rate is declining. As people industrialize, the birth rate going down. Where the poor countries, the birth rate is so high, but they lack educational opportunity. That's very good, Matt. Everybody own your debt of gratitude. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, I probably won't be able to go over all these, but like total fertility rate and then rate of natural increase, just to
Beautiful.
find a difference. Total fertility rate changes as the country develops, which is lowers. How to gain access for women in less developed countries is gonna affect, it's gonna decrease the total fertility rate because there's things such as like contraceptives that educated women can use and other methods, and like family planning also. And then like women's health care, this should positively impact total
That's right.
fertility rate because if
Exactly.
it could fix many reproductive issues that women can have.
Yeah, because in the ancient time, like 2 or 3 generations ago, my great grandparents' generation, 1/3 of the baby died in the first year. That's from the oral history from the family, right? When I look at the great grandparents, my great grandparents' generation, 1/3 of the baby die in the first year. That still happen in some of the very poor country, the third world country or fourth world country who have not enough medical care for women. Okay, keep on going.
Next one is why government enact pro-natalist policies. So pro-natalist policies is policies that encourage more birth of children.
That's right,
So
Singapore. We talk about Singapore in our class, right? Singapore, Japan. And Japan give every woman who have children or more children money. Russia. But why people are not doing it? Singapore spend a lot of money to encourage women to have a baby. Okay, go ahead. Why they are doing that? Why is working or not working? Congratulations.
and then explain one way in which a government can influence and family planning decisions by implementing a pro-natalist policy, just like encourage, just one way. There's many.
Congratulations. Good job.
The second is like English speakers in countries. This one, you really have to just base it off of the table and what you know about these countries that's in the table. So if you don't know like the details of these countries, it's gonna be difficult.
Wow, Matt, I'm very happy for you. So think about the compare with 1 or 2 years ago, the maturity of your presentation. You're taking over my job. Wow, that's very good. Alina,
So
analyzing this table for me, how did you did this AP examination 2 or 3 days ago? Is that 2 days ago? 3 days ago?
It's 5 days ago.
5 days ago. Okay,
And
5 days ago, you still can memorize something, hopefully. Okay, go ahead.
I didn't get this FRQ.
you could have gone the other set. There was 2 sets.
Okay, then
I
Matt,
think there might have
go ahead.
been more than 2 because I looked at set 1. I found set 1 online, but it's not the one I got either.
Okay.
Then I have no idea.
So Matt, you
first
keep on talking
one
about this one.
is historical reason for India's current number of English speakers is like the colonization of Britain, obviously. Contemporary reason why China and India are learning English. Just like affecting the global market because English is very big right now with the stock market and everything.
Wonderful.
And then one barrier to diffusion of English out China. I said like China's very big on like traditions. So it could be hard for like external stuff, like external other cultures to infiltrate, I guess, into China.
Actually, there is a whole section in the AP Human Geography on language, the family tree of language, right?
Yeah.
Chinese language is very further away from English. English depend upon what? Rely upon Germanic language. They are Germanic language.
Yeah.
They use alphabet, and the Chinese have no alphabets. Even Japanese and Korean have alphabets. So the Chinese language is really further away from English. Even though Chinese government and the parents spend a lot of money to push Chinese students to study English, for a lot of them, study English in China is a torture. right? Therefore, some companies earn a lot of money to teach English, but still the effects are further away from these countries like Nigeria, Netherlands. Netherlands doesn't speak English. English is their second language because their education level are so high. 90% of the people in Netherlands speak English because they need a lot of communication. And the people in Netherlands are what kind of people? I have friends there. They are commercial people. They are very good at doing business. For hundreds of years, they are international people. So they have a 90% English literacy. I'm surprised. India only have 12% of English speakers. Think about the colonialization period. It was so long. And if you want to get A, you talk about the caste system in India. The lower class people in India are undereducated still right now. Make sense? So a lot of Indian people you meet in your class, they are so well educated. But that is a very small percentage of people in India, only 12%. But that's a very low percentage. And most of them, when they are highly educated, they go overseas. So you talk about the colonialization process, but you also talk about inequality in education in India. But think about Philippines, 95%. Wow, surprising. Just think about even a very poor country in Philippines have 95% of people can speak English well. That's related upon their internationalization of their labor market. So you use some of these statistics to justify your argument, and you will do very well in this one. But you need to know a lot about the world. So it's a very challenging question, but you can use this question to show your knowledge on what's going on in the world. Congratulations, Matt. Everybody own your debt. After 5 days, that means you use your initiative to study. Even after the test, you're still looking for what's going on. Congratulations. I'm very impressed by the maturity of your initiative. Go ahead.
Next one is, well, explain one economic reason why a corporation based in an English-speaking country would locate a call center in a country where English isn't the dominant language. I didn't really get this one because, like,
which one? A, B, C, D, E, right? Which one?
E, yeah.
E. You read it again. Explain one economic reason why a corporation based in English-speaking countries would locate a call center in a country where English is not a dominant country. For example, use India as example. India was, for a lot of big corporations, they placed the call center like AT&T, right? Communication industry. They put their back office in India because in India, they pay the local English speaker a very lower salary. So the multi-international company can save money. And you talk about the availability of the internet. The availability of the internet in countries such as India and other ex-colonial countries. The availability of the internet make it possible for communication internationalization. Make sense? And also you talk about the gap between salaries, right? The salaries between the United States and India was so high. So it gave justification for these companies to put the back office function in countries such as India. And you use this statistics, 12%, only 12% of Indian people speak English. That is related with the question where English is not the dominant language. In India, English is not the dominant language. So India is the perfect example to answer this question. Make sense? Or maybe even Pakistan, but I don't know much about Pakistan, whether they will do that in the Pakistan. But in India, even the major company like a Google CEO are Indians. So they have the incentive in terms of cutting cost to give the job to India. Think about Boeing airplane company. They write their software in India. To do what? To cut the corner, to cut the cost. That's the justification. And see what happens. See what happened. Congratulations, Matt. You're making such a big progress, and you know what you know, and you also know what you don't know. Congratulations. Keep on going.
Explain one limitation of using the table in the data in the table to understand a country's level of economic development. Well, because the table only shows the number of English speakers and the percentage of the population, you can kind of guess the the total population, but because just based off of how many people can speak English, you can't really guess how developed the country is. Because
That's
if the country's main language is English, of course like a large percentage of it is gonna be English. But if it's not a language that's it's not the dominant language, but a lot of people can speak it, probably just means that it's really developed because it needs to communicate.
If you don't know enough knowledge of these countries, you cannot make an explanation. For example, China have only less than 1% of people speak English. Doesn't mean China is poor than country like Nigeria or Philippines. Make sense? Philippines have such a big Philippines and Nigeria. You know, we have a lot of Nigerians in Houston, right? I have, you know, when I was working in downtown, I know a lot of people working there are from Nigeria because they are related with the oil and gas industry, because there's a big oil and gas reserve in the country called Nigeria. And I was surprised when I look at this statistic, they have 53% of Nigerians speak English, right? So I learned something from, and 95% of Filipinos speak English. But the Philippines is not as developed as what? As the United Kingdom, as a Sweden. And the Philippines have an even higher percentage of the population speak English than Sweden. But Sweden is, everybody live a very comfortable life, right? Because they have a very small population and they all have a very high salary, and the living standard is the top of the world. And the Philippines are not. As I mentioned 10 minutes ago, in Philippines, the labor market are service oriented. So they provide what? Nurses for the world, servants for the world, maids for the world. But of course, there's a software writers, medical doctors, but that's a very small percentage. So people have an incentive in Philippines to study very hard to improve their salary. So that's why you see Filipino people study so hard. So they work in they work in Hong Kong, they work in the United States and the Middle East, all over the world. So they have 95% extremely high percentage. But as this question said, explain one limitation of using the data in the table to understand the country's level of economic development. Yet in Philippines, the economic development in the country are very low, even though they have a lot of educated people, highly educated people in Philippines. Wow, so this is very good. Congratulations. How about the G?
One negative impact of global lingua franca, some places where different languages spoken. A lingua franca is a common language used between
Right.
two cultures to communicate.
Mhm.
So, well, the negative impact is that the local language of the country that's learning the lingua franca could be wiped out because of the
Wonderful.
like
Keep on talking.
dependency on the communication.
Yeah,
But-
yeah, stop here. For example, in China, there's a lot of local dialects, right? Even in Guangdong and Fujian, there's a lot of local dialects. With the Mandarin taking over, a lot of local dialects, my friend in Fujian province told me, and across a small river, people speak different dialects. And they cannot communicate with each other. And you cannot build a common market and a common national culture, efficient nation state. If you have hundreds or thousands of local dialects, right? And the country will be poor. If people in the country cannot communicate with each other, they cannot do business with each other, they won't trust each other, sometimes they will fight very often with each other. So it's very difficult to build a nation state when you have hundreds of thousands of different dialects. In order to build an efficient common market and a strong nation state, you have to have a common language. But the drawback is you are cutting off a lot of cultural diversity. Okay, that's the very good point. So next one. How about, wow, the next one is about China. And Alina, did you have the same question, yes or no?
No, I
No,
didn't get
then Matt, unfortunately, you have to explain it for us.
So this
That's
is
exactly what I talked about 1 minute ago, half a minute ago. Now you explain to me, Matt. If you don't understand something, I will try to pretend I understand. Okay, go ahead.
so honestly, I think this is the hardest one, but
That's right.
so the first one is describe the spatial pattern of the clusters located on the map. So you can see that it's Shanghai, Hong Kong, Taiwan, but Taiwan does something on it. But so the dots are representing like towns and cities whose products are on the table.
That's
So you can
right.
see that most of the towns are clustered near the Hong Kong and Shanghai, like major ports. And then there's only like two cities that's like just
Wow.
in the middle, and the rest are on the coast where they can just ship products and raw materials.
Wow. Think about in this one, Wenzhou produce 90% of global brand products of eyewear. So Wenzhou control in this special product 90% of the world market. That's the very high level. And Wenzhou only developed this township, they were farmers, right? Maybe 20 or 30 years ago. But in certain product like eyewear, these people in one generation transform from farmers. They go through the whole thing called the big word industrialization and urbanization. Two things: urbanization, industrialization, and if I will say something that's not in your textbook, commercialization. Okay, these high school educated townspeople can buy whole, suburb and housing, speculation. Amazing. They don't need to go to MBA program, okay, to be successful business people. That's amazing. And Dongguan, 40% of global production of a golf product. And which one is number one destination? United States, probably. United States. In Houston, there are so many golf players. Most likely, the fishing gear and the golf gear, 40% are made in Dongguan. Another used to be 40 years ago, at least, a small town in the middle of nowhere of rice field. So try to understand some of the question. You explain to me A, B, C, and Alina will be to do the D, E, F, G. How about that? That's fair. So Alina, you still have the time when Matt is explaining to me A, B, C, and you prepare mentally to the rest of them. Now, Matt, you read and tell me how would you answer, and I will try to answer it. Go ahead. I didn't prepare this. Go.
Well,
I didn't prepare. I didn't prepare what? I didn't prepare how hard this question is. I didn't prepare how hard this question is, and the source of the material is from the economics. You don't know where this magazine came from. This magazine came from the city of London. These are the business people all over the world read Economist, 经济学家杂志. Okay, one of the best is Economics and Wall Street Journal. These are the rich and powerful people read this magazine. And the AP class forcing you guys to interpret this. So maybe for the next year, I'm going to have a meeting with all the parents here, okay? And design and explain this information and how we educate you guys, okay? Our next generation, we all have high hope on you guys. But I want you guys eventually understand Economist, this magazine. I'm going to choose reading material for this class to study. Okay, keep on going. You do A, B, C, Matt. We challenge each other for fun.
A, I would say describe. So the spatial patterns of the clusters located on the map are mostly clustered near major ports.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. They clustered upon the port system, Hong Kong, Shantou, Dongguan. So therefore, the containers using sea liners can reach across the Pacific Ocean and even go all the way to Atlantic Ocean through what? Suez Canal. Remember we mentioned about the Suez Canal 1 month ago or half a month ago, I forgot. They were stopped. One Taiwanese big ship stopped Suez Canal. The whole world was in panic. Wonderful. You selected the right word and the right concept. Matt, I was so surprised about the sophistication you are doing the analysis. Go ahead.
Would be one reason for the spatial patterns identified from the map and data.
Loud and clear.
So one reason for the cities to cluster near major ports or coastal regions is because most of the products being made are being distributed onto the global market or across major oceans. So they need to have ports and be able to transfer them.
Mm-hmm. So this one related with, in most of the developing countries, in terms of in the process of industrialization, they are producing consumer product. They are not supplying majority of not supplying for the internal consumption. Take notes, guys. Okay, Matthew, Sammy. They are not producing for the internal consumption, but rather for the external consumption. For the first world country like the United States, for example, these stuff like a golf product. China is a country that lack of agricultural land. So the golf playing is only for the rich people. Make sense? It's not like in Houston, almost all the middle class, upper middle class are playing golf. So the golf product definitely 40% of global production are for Europe, especially for the United States. Make sense? Especially for the United States, England, maybe even Scotland, where golf sports originated from. Okay, even though like a very rich city like Shanghai, I heard about, in Guangzhou, Quanzhou, Fujian, people in the coastal area, they are more developed. They are imitating the lifestyle in the West. So they are playing golf too. So people can earn big money in what? In Fujian, Quanzhou, Zhejiang, and Shanghai to teach people play golf rather than, teaching them algebra or English, right? Because the consumer are going to be the rich people. They are paying high salary to imitate the lifestyle of the West. Congratulations. Next one. So there is so much information when you read the statistics. You can write about it and you will have a file. You should, both of you. Congratulations. Go. B.
So the last one is to define. So you just have to give the definition of a special economic zone, which is a zone where a country is designated as a special economic zone, allows it to have like special policies, like
good job.
It could like have either less or just plain no tariffs or taxes. And then also allows free trade, which just encourages economic transactions.
Wonderful. Where did you get that information, Matt? I'm surprised you know that. You can answer like this.
I think it was just when we learned it in class.
In which class? Our class or your school class? Your school class.
School
Your
classes.
school is very good. School class. Congratulations. Let me Memorial High School. I'm very glad your parents put you there and you're paying attention to study in the 9th grader AP class. So you need to applaud yourself and your parents should be very happy about that. So you guys still have a good teacher in your school. So do your best, okay? That's your responsibility. So special economic zone. In Deng Xiaoping's time, they opened this seaport for, basically very low tax rate for the international investment to build factories, to have resources, machinery came from the West, investment coming from the West. And then Chinese labor working in that factory and the consumer market also in the West. Make sense? So it's a win-win situation. Win for China and win for the international market. Congratulations, you did very good. Now, Alina, you will answer the rest of the question.
Explain how one economic policy attracts foreign investments in China's
special economic zones. Go ahead.
I actually don't know.
You actually don't know. I probably guess the teacher in school didn't teach that, but we are going to cover that. In our class, we are going to teach each and every question very clearly, and everybody will study the whole question. And Matt have the responsibility to send that to all of us via email. Okay, after this class, you're going to send that to me and everybody in the mailing list. So let me start it, let me try, because I didn't prepare this one. Congratulations, Matt. Everybody own a debt of gratitude to you. Okay? So somebody have to buy your lunch after COVID-19, of course. Safety is number one. Okay, Matt? So let me try to explain. When China was opening up, China was a very poor country. Lack of what? Investment and modern technology. What the Chinese government do? In the seaport where the transportation to the West would be very easy, they open a local area, gave international investment a very low price in terms of purchasing or renting the land, gave them very low or almost zero tax rate. So they can use the cheap land, very relaxed environmental standard, very cheap but efficient, well-disciplined labor. Make sense? Relatively well-educated population. Disciplined population, willing to work long hours to support their family. So this is the government policy, but also cultural value system. So they are willing to work long hours to have extra money to send to their family who were what? Agriculture farmers. So for them, even the very low salary compare what would they earn at home are very high. The similar question I see in the AP World History question. Make sense? That is exactly what happened when Japan experienced in the Meiji Reformation. Listen carefully. In the Meiji Reformation, because next year, all the people in this class, Matt and Alina, have to take AP World History. Last night, I teach AP World History till 9:30, so my throat is still, I'm yelling at us for good reason because my throat hurts right now when I'm talking to you, right? Last night, 9:30, I finished my class for 3 hours because they are going to take that on Monday, okay, next Monday, AP World History. So we were researching on how Japan goes through the industrialization and why Japanese industrialization, Meiji Reformation succeeded, where China and the Ottoman Empire failed. Write it down, Matt. That's your question for the next year. Okay, for the next year. So what we found out yesterday is probably China in certain way even copied how Japan or South Korea or the other Asian tigers industrialized. Make sense? China paid a lot of prices in terms of pollution and human misery, using the policy of the SEZ, Special Economic Zone, to industrialize. For these East Asian and Southeast Asian countries, without industrialization, they know the country will still live in misery. Make sense? Misery. So the sacrifice for the last 30 years are tremendous. A lot of price was paid. But what's the success? These areas control a big chunk of a global market. That means what? The people's salary level keep on improving. Even though the salary level compared with the industrialized country like Sweden are still, very low. If you understand that big picture, you can answer these AP tests. Remember, these AP tests is preparing you. These are first year college level of education. They are training you guys sophistication in critical thinking. Number one, you need a lot of information. Number two, you need a critical thinking skill in order to answer these pretty tough questions. I'm very proud that two of our ninth grader high schoolers are dealing with these with pressure. With the pressure with the grace. Okay, keep on going. Next one. Whose turn?
Explain why internal migration patterns increase the profits of corporations located in SEZs within China.
Go ahead. Explain why internal migration pattern increase the profit of a corporation located as SEZ special economic zone within China. I can teach this one for you for 10 hours. Okay, but try, Alina.
I think it's because within these zones, there are free trade agreements and
yes,
like less tariffs and taxes and all that. And so when internal migration happens, like
okay. Now I know I'm hyping you out. That's my job, Alina. It's not I'm such a mean person. I always give you guys hard time, but challenging yourself with these hard questions, that's not easy. It's not easy. But once you are challenged again and again by these AP questions, you will feel yourself, you improve your critical thinking skills. Let me hype out. And Matt, pay 100% attention, and everybody take notes right now. And if I'm doing it wrong, and it's your job to prove that I'm wrong, let me try to explain. People in China, in the east coast of China, have a relatively higher salary. And in the internal province, like like Guizhou, even Hunan province, right now they're getting better. In people like in Xinjiang, Ningxia, any western province, Henan, even in the central part of China, earn less than the east. Why? The east coast area have the access to international market. The more you are closer, easy communication with the global market, the local population have a higher salary. And the international company, why they come to China? Why do they come to China? Why don't they stay in the United States? Why don't they give the job to the Europeans? Because they need to pay people relatively very, very low salary, like 1/20th or even less. In ancient time, like 20 years ago, maybe 1/50th. Okay, to do this, what kind of work? Repetitive work. They need people with education, but not a very high level education, but they need people with a very good discipline. How can people discipline themselves? Because the local farmers in the Chinese West, when they work in the farm, they work 10 hours a day. They already have the discipline, right? So when they go to the Chinese East to do the so-called, I'm not want to use the very depressively low salary, is still many times higher than they work in the farm. Make sense, Sammy? Do you understand? Do you follow what I'm talking about? This is not only happening in China, it's happening in many countries, like Brazil. The coastal area still earn a lot more than internal provinces. This is happening in most of the so-called developing countries. So the international company, like this company who make golf clubs, right? People play golf. Oh, the fishing gear. The fishing gear can be very expensive. Majority of them right now are made in the Guangdong province or maybe Fujian province. The fishing gear, my friend, fish in the Gulf of Mexico, they are pretty expensive. These are the rich boys. Yeah, to can $1,000 fishing gears, I cannot afford it. Okay, and I cannot afford the time. These people are rich people. Okay, they have the time. They can spend the money on the gears. The first word, lifestyle. Okay, the first word, lifestyle, depending upon the hard labor of these internal migration laborers. Why are these people working so hard? Sammy, why are these people working so hard for very low salary? Tell me. What?
I don't know.
You failed me, Matthew. Why are these people working so hard in internal part of China, go to the east and working in the assembly line, doing very repetitive work?
It's probably more job opportunities in the east.
Because
where the
that's
cities
a
are.
family value system. They sacrificed for their children. They are sacrificing for their children, and they are still earning more money than their farm can provide for them. And they're sacrificing for their children. They are sacrificing their current pleasure for the pleasure they realize that the children will be more successful than they do. Make sense, Matthew?
Yeah.
That's what I'm doing. That's what I'm doing. Okay, anyway, Himang, next question.
Explain one strength of the Wallerstein world system theory in explaining where these products are made and where these products are sold. So one strength would be like it can be applied to different scales. So it can also be applied to the provincial scale right now. And it's basically saying that it's made in periphery and semi-periphery areas, like on the right table, and it's being sold in the special economic zones, which are core areas, core cities where they get the profit, and the periphery cities are the ones who provide the cheap labor and all of the materials and goods.
Alina, I'm proud of you. Okay, that's very good because you didn't do this question and still you can answer maybe 50%. Okay, what is the Wallenstein's world system theory? I'm asking you and I'm asking Matt.
It's like the connection between core, semi-periphery and periphery areas.
Wow. So the KT education system, I have some comfortability with them, a little bit more than before. You learned this one in school, right? Wallenstein world theory. Now, same question to Matt. Did Memorial High teach you about this guy's theory?
Yeah.
Tell me what you know, what you still remember about this system. Congratulations.
Well,
I learned this one in graduate school when I was in my tender years of, in my late 20s, like 29, almost 30 years old. I'm learning the same thing you guys are learning in high school. Wow. So sometimes I'm pushing you guys too hard. I feel guilty about it, but I'm have more comfortability with you guys, right? Now, Matt, tell me anything more you know. And after the break, the next 1 hour, we'll spend 20 minutes on this system. Follow up on this system. Go ahead, Matt.
So the world system theory is like how there are peripheral countries, semi-peripheral, and core countries. So the core countries are the most developed, obviously. So right now, it'd probably be most of Europe and just mainly US. And then semi-peripheral is like almost developed, so they're not agricultural, but they've like industrialized. And then peripherals is like really undeveloped. Well, they could have already industrialized, but they're still really undeveloped. So the theory mainly is that the peripheral and semi-peripheral countries depend on the core country for the market, and they just depend on them for like economic opportunities and everything.
Listen, this is a core center of industrialization. They producing high technology, they producing culture, they have the best university like Harvard and Yale, Stanford. Make sense? That's why people all over the world are rushing to the core to pay higher money to get the education on not only the technology, but also the value system, how to behave, how to run an industrialized country or post-industrialized country, how people treat each other, the rule of law, and so on and so forth. The whole big package. And the way of life keep on going to the semi-periphery countries. Country like, my best example is like Singapore, right? They didn't create these values, but they are very good at absorbing these values and use that to run the society, and the society runs so well. And sometimes even better than the core country in certain districts. Make sense? And then the poor, depressingly poor, miserable, even peripheral countries. They producing what? Rare materials. The people living in dirt poor situation and a lot of time in civil war, fighting for the very limited resources. So that is a theory you learn in college. and in grad school. It doesn't mean I totally agree with this theory, but this is the theory who run the Western world. Make sense? So this guy gets the same system from Europe and came to the United States and run majority of the US campus, college campus. So you guys using the AP class to get you ready to think critically, to understand these theory who run the US, the best of the universities. Of course, they don't teach this one in community college. They teach this one in the top tier, second tier, at least top tier and second tier university. Make sense, Matt? So you guys want to go to the top tier university, or maybe even second tier. That still can be very good, right? But not the third or fourth tier. Keep on going. Congratulations. So both of you have the basic knowledge of this very sophisticated and complicated word system theory. I'm very happy for you guys and happy for your parents. Next one.
Using the data in the table, explain one way in which the products listed relate to these clusters' comparative advantage in global trade.
Good job.
So one way, I guess, would be like in the right, for example, the first city, which produces eyewear, and it's like 90% of the brand products probably doesn't produce as many bags and suitcases. Whereas the fourth city in the table produces 70% of bags and suitcases of European and US like supplies. And so they could like trade, and so they would both have better quality products to trade out, and with like less time, and it's like less time consuming and stuff. And it like relates to clusters because they're the ones that ship them out and stuff.
Good job. Good job. Alina and Matt, congratulations for both of you. I'm comfortable. Doesn't matter, even though I don't know your grade yet in terms of you get a 3 or 4 or 5 in AP. But once you do one AP, you know their thinking process, how they are going to test you. You need a basic knowledge. You need a factual knowledge. That's not enough. And they also need you to read the statistics and also give a cohesive analysis. That's why our class need to keep on doing the writing thing, persuasive writing. So the persuasive writing will be a continued process. I'm going to ask your parents' cooperation with me to, push you guys to do it. The more you do it, the better you're going to are. And before this 10 minutes break, we're coming back, we're going to do Wallenstein's word system theory for 20 minutes. And then we do biology and other good stuff, other stuff I want to teach. But here is the advertisement. Next Friday, 7:30 Houston time, I'm going to have a free presentation on Harvard class on both justice and also Chinese history. For the justice, I want all of you guys just participate. Last year you were there, right? For anybody who take the justice class, just to show how much you still remember, right? Especially Matthew, listen, affirmative action. Hannah, listen carefully. Affirmative action side. Chapter 10, I'm going to review with you guys because Donna, my homeschool students are going to be there. So it's good for you guys to review, to refresh yourself. And number 2, I'm going to teach this AP Harvard Chinese history, Qin and Han Dynasty. That is related with Matt and Alina. Next year's AP, what? World history. really want you guys, doesn't matter you take my class or not, right? I want you to take AP World History to challenge yourself. So I want Hannah to be here, and Hannah going to take my class, yes or no, Hannah? Actually, your mom wants me to teach that to increase you guys' awareness of Chinese culture and history. So you have aware there's a multiple ways of cultural functions. Culture function differently. So you have a multiple system in your brain to compare different facts. When you see life, you can compare different systems. Therefore, that's the critical thinking. And the Harvard class give you one thing, give you a case study. How these best university expect you to think creatively. I'm going to use the example, how the Harvard professor teach their PhD students. How do they communicate, right? And how their communication, they're challenging each other. The PhD students were challenging their professor. Hey, you're not right. You didn't say this one right. That's what I want you guys to challenge me in the class, right, Matthew? And if you can do the critical analysis in the essay, you will get a full score. And once you every year you take a 1 or 2 AP class, you are ready for the best university in the United States. And the Harvard class, from now on, every summer I will open at least 1 or 2 or 3 or 5 Harvard class. So during the summertime, whenever even if I have 1 student, I'm going to teach them. Okay. So have a 10 minutes break. When we come back, we do Wallenstein word system theory. When I learned that when I was in the tender age of 29 or 28, I forgot. Okay. Yeah. See you guys soon. Bye. 10 minutes.